Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Condon, representing TooMedToo. We've got your fix, and we're back and bigger and better than ever. What a way to come back. Today, we have a very special guest. Today, we have Dominic Pace. Dominic, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here, and hello to all your listeners. Thanks for having me. What an exciting week.
I'm sure most of you, if you're watching this, already know Dominic is going to be on The Mandalorian. That starts in just a couple hours. If you're watching this live, you're starting in The Mandalorian. Not starting. You're in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, please.
I don't want to ruffle any feathers.
We don't want Mickey Mouse knocking on the door saying, "Hey, what are you trying to pull here?"
Yeah. No, I understand it. It's just for me. Listen, you're a star in Hollywood. Whether you think so or not, or other people, that's how I feel because once I realized who you were, I don't want to offend you, but I think you're one of those people that people might not know your name, but when they see you, they're like, I know that guy. He was in this. I've seen him in that. Or when they see you in a show, they're like, he was in that other show. Because you have a pretty illustrious career.
I'm a New Yorker myself, so you have to build tough skin in order to be a part of this business. But we've never put ourselves in any type of light that we don't consider ourselves in reality. I mean, I've been a blue collar actor, a working actor, a lot of supporting roles, featured in The Mandalorian, which obviously as a Star Wars fan is such a dream come true. But in no way, shape, or form, I don't expect the world to know my name. I've been kind of under the radar. In a way, it's actually worked in my favor because I've been able to play different types of roles. I don't get typecast. I think now, of course, even with this featured opportunity in Star Wars, I may. But at the same time, it'll be a warm welcome because I've just been a diehard Star Wars fan my entire life there. So all good things, and just happy to be able to have a 20-plus career as a character actor in television, mostly in American TV.
Now, you're from New York. You started off, did you always want to be an actor? Were you in theater as a kid?
We had the High School Musical Grease, and typical Italian fare. I played Danny Zuko in my junior year in high school. So that's where I kind of caught the bug. But ultimately, growing up with the 80s movies, the same movies that you grew up with, Goonies, E.T., Star Wars, the music of John Williams, which was so inspirational, just kind of pulled at your heartstrings. And also so many amazing performances, namely Harrison Ford, who has always been my idol. To have that level of conviction and power and energy to be able to express oneself in such an amazing way, that was a huge inspiration as a child. I just did not make it legitimate until I was about 17 years old. I went to college up in Poughkeepsie, New York for 1 year, but I was commuting down to the city probably 2 or 3 times a week, just going for commercial auditions, getting one of the actors' trades called backstage. And then I told my mom after my freshman year that I wanted to go ahead and pursue it full time. There's not been one day that's been easy. There's a tremendous amount of blue-collar jobs I've had to take on in order to keep it going. But I have no shame. I've been very prideful in terms of what I've accomplished. This is not a business to where sometimes the 99% of us make a full living, but it's these little moments of gold, and specifically this week, which means so much to me in terms of being able to achieve those little tiny dreams. And again, to be featured in Star Wars is something beyond my wildest dreams, just as a lifelong fan.
Yeah, I mean, kind of on different levels, but when it comes to podcasters or no one knows who I am. There's only a couple people watching this chat right now. I get 40 or 50 views. I used to get a lot more when I started off, but then I took a break for a year and kind of lost everybody. I'm waiting for them to come back. But then I got you to come on and talk with me, and that was, I was telling everybody it was a highlight for me, and it was great. And then actually I got a call today from one of the Disney publicists and said, hey, can you do you want to do an interview? Can you do an interview with George Mann? So I did an interview with George Mann this afternoon. He wrote the Myths and Fables book. I might never do an interview again, maybe unless you're, but I got 2 in today. So it's a great day for me.
And that's what it's about. Again, you just have to appreciate the small victories. A lot of people in this town, I don't feel are really happy in general. And to me, I mean, the key to life is happiness. You have to appreciate those small little victories. We're all not Hugh Jackman. We may all not be there, but sometimes just to be able to touch it, kind of the Rudy Rudiger moment in many ways. I think it's just priceless. I mean, you have somebody like Rudy Rudiger, where you've been able to play in the major leagues even once or twice. It's just a dream come true. I've had the opportunity to do it over 100 times. Who knows how many times we'll do it again? But at the same time, I'm very content in what I've achieved, as you should be, and as those who are struggling out there, just trying to fight and get those little glimpses of their dream. Don't give up, and also be very prideful in terms of what you've already accomplished.
And you've always been a Star Wars fan since
lifelong. When I was 5 years old, I grew up in a town called Ossining, New York. I grew up in a single family home. My mom, we didn't have too much money, so those 12 original figures, that Cantina playset was absolutely priceless for me in terms of building my imagination, my creativity, not to mention the amazing music of John Williams. And then, of course, just the amazing experience and the effect that Empire Strikes Back in the theater had on me back in 1980 there. It was just one of the greatest films of all time, in my opinion, and it still sticks with me today.
I'm the baby of 5. I'm not the youngest. I'm the baby. My brother, obviously, he's older. He's about 10 years older than me. So he had the Star Wars toys. And the levels of cousins, I'm towards the bottom. But there's, boys that are a couple years older than me and 4 years older than me and 6 years older than me. So I was born in 78. So Star Wars had already started. They already had the toys. By the time I was 2 or 3 years old, I was already playing with Star Wars toys. I remember my first memory of a Star Wars really is, I don't know how old I was, but I had the orange cloud card from Empire Strikes Back. And it wasn't mine, but I was allowed to play with it. And that was my first memory of Star Wars. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I was never allowed to play with it until then. So that was something amazing for me. And you have quite the collection, from what I understand.
Yeah, I mean, this was before social media, and I mean, George Lucas was so groundbreaking in so many ways that basically, it just had such a tremendous effect, I think, on our development, our early development of imagination and creativity. There was just something about not only him, but his team. I mean, you go from the blasters to the lightsabers, the characters, the way they looked. It's just something so appealing as a child. I collect, but for the memories of childhood, because again, the innocence of that, the mysticism of all the side characters, to me, was so inspirational. And again, it's something that sticks with you throughout your whole life. So for me, one of the greatest movies of all time, of course, is Citizen Kane. And at the end, he says Rosebud. And a lot of times, what many people believe, I think, ultimately, is that he's referring to his childhood, and he's referring to his innocence and the special time of his life. And for us, I mean, somebody might say Star Wars at the end of their life, because, again, sometimes it brings back these magical memories, these toys of when we were innocent and when we're just starting in terms of creativity and everything that's amazing about Hollywood, the fantasy, the creativity of it. What Hollywood should be about. That's George Lucas to me. And again, how exciting it is in terms of the next couple of months. It's almost like some people are choosing Christmas or Star Wars season right now. For those who are Star Wars fans, between Episode 9 and Mandalorian, it's a very exciting time, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm choosing both. You have your collection that you started, and you started it because of the nostalgia. I never collected anything until not a couple months ago, the New York Comic Con. So but a year ago, and I was there with a couple podcasters and collectors, and walking around with them, and I was like, oh, that looks nice, that looks nice. And I came home and I ordered a couple things off of eBay, but it was the AT-AT driver or the AT-AT driver. It's all semantics to me. I really don't care what you call it or what anybody calls it. We all know what we're talking about. And a couple other. Yeah, there's a lot more important things to argue about in Star Wars than that. But and a couple other things, and they started arriving, and I was like, well, I think these are nice, and that's nice. And the next thing you know, I have a bookcase full of Funko Pops and Black Series. I've always had the books. It's getting to the point where I was told I was finally told after a year I need to stop buying things. So my idea for that was, it's a New York City apartment. I don't have room. So no, we need to just rearrange some things, move the bed and buy another bookcase. And, that didn't fly over too well. I don't know how well it's going to go, but I want to thank everyone that's in here right now. We're talking with Dominic Pace. He's being featured in The Mandalorian. He is a bounty hunter. Now, the nickname is Gekko or Gekko?
Gekko, Brian Sipe, who was the makeup artist over at Legacy Effects, 2 years prior, 2 to 3 years prior, he did a model over for a Greenpeace project, and that was what my makeup and my head was based off of originally. It actually originally had two humps that was very similar to a gecko, and then it turned into four horns. So that's where the nickname came from. Whether Disney makes that official or not, we shall see. But Gekko the Bounty Hunter is the way it's going, and that was kind of the name around set there. So fingers crossed that gets solidified within an action figure. But that's where the name came from. He did this amazing model with these black tones and these white tones and a skin tone that you can see. I have got all the art all over my Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and also Brian has some Brian Sipe on his Instagram as well, some of the origin of that character. But yeah, really exciting. He gave me the most extensive makeup. I was in his chair for 6 hours. I did not even know what I was going in for. It was just a simple makeup test. But we spent 6 hours together. We really hit it off. He was such a genuine man. I just did not know what to say to him on set in terms of something, where you're a Star Wars fan. How do you thank somebody for giving you the gift of a lifetime? But I sent him just a nice card afterwards. And he's just such a genuine human being and such an amazing talent. I think he's got his own makeup line. He's one of the heads there over at Legacy Effects. So Gekko the Bounty Hunter is kind of the rumored name, and fingers crossed that gets solidified in Wikipedia over the next few months.
Yeah, and that's what I talked with you briefly, trying to make some plans, and I could just tell that even though you said that you were a Star Wars fan for life, I could really tell by your excitement and enthusiasm. Just the way that you were talking about things.
Yeah, I mean, without question, in 1999, I was on Entertainment Tonight. I had my whole collection. I had a life-size Han Solo and Carbonite, but it's just a beautiful story. And one of the things now, that we have all these episodes is, for you and I, perhaps we related to the original trilogy, but kids that are maybe 10, 20 years younger than us, they related to the prequels, and now you have the newer generations that are relating to the new series. So Star Wars is so special because it not only touches our lives, us Gen Xers, but obviously people from all different walks of life. It's so inspirational in so many ways. And like I said, I just can't say enough of how honored I am to just be a small sliver of the universe there.
I know there's really not a lot you can talk about because it hasn't come out yet, and we really don't know anything. We have probably 2 minutes or a few minutes of TV spot time. I think I saw more at Celebration, and the clips they showed there. It was a little bit more raw footage, though, not as cleaned up. What can you tell us about your character? Anything? Or basically, I want you to tell me as much as you can about everything.
Well, instead of getting in trouble, because I have to be very careful, I'd like to just talk in terms of the experience from the point of view of a Star Wars fan, which I think is healthy and it's fine. On my first day that I was there, I entered a cantina, which you do see in the trailer, and standing there was none other than George Lucas, which was absolutely just mind blowing.
Okay.
At this level, unfortunately, this is not a fan meet and greet. You're there to work, you're there to do a job, and you're there with a $100 million budget. So everyone who is part of that, I mean, you're there to just listen and do whatever it is that you're told. But just to be in his presence, in the presence of Favreau and Filoni, who are such genuine men, such amazing leaders, and not only that, this amazing new director, Deborah Chow, was just beyond words. So the whole entire experience for those 8 to 10 days was just absolutely priceless. I want to share one story that I think every Star Wars fan is able to relate to. Back during the prequels, I believe Samuel Jackson and Ewan McGregor talked about this amazing experience where I think it was either Lucas or one of the prop members who presented them with a suitcase full of lightsabers. So you got to imagine for a Star Wars fan to be presented not with lightsabers, but with an entire table full of blasters for bounty hunters. I got to pick my own bounty hunter blaster, and that to me was just priceless. I am 6'4". I'm 255 pounds, so I wanted to go with a very big blaster, one that was a semi-automatic with a paintball canister attached to the back and a curved dagger down to the bottom. So that for me, again, was just such a priceless experience to be a Star Wars fan, and to have that opportunity was just amazing. I could talk about the tone on set, which was ridiculously professional. You hear some of the old stories of James Cameron and Michael Bay and people yelling and shouting and screaming this and that. I can't tell you how cool Filoni and Favreau are just in regards to the way that they lead and the way they let their leaders lead. Especially with Deborah Chow, who again I think was handed the Kenobi series. That's how talented she is. Carl Weathers, I was with. I can say that. I'm Italian American. The Rocky series for me was incredibly inspirational. So to combine Star Wars plus another one of my inspirations, Sylvester Stallone, and of course Carl Weathers, who led that series to be one of the greatest series of all time in Hollywood American history, was just such an honor. The man's presence, his talent, his grace is second to none. So to be able to be alongside him in one of the situations, let's just call it that, was just such an honor to be near him. People ask me in terms of how I prep for the role. Sometimes when you're around the energy of A-list talent, you're able to get there because of the intensity or the levels of their emotions to where you're able to kind of play out the same thing. Um, just in regards to storyline and respect to any spoilers and respect to Disney, I just have to be careful in terms of certain situations. But please, I'd love to come back on the show after November 22nd and talk about the whole thing and how it played out. Again, like I said, I'm just kind of beyond words right now. It's just, I think a lot of Star Wars fans can relate that it's just a dream come true. And it's funny because it's not necessarily an acting accolade, but it's like some of my favorite characters were Walrus Man and Hammerhead and Squidman and Reese and Klaatu, some of these side characters that really were so special to me as a kid. And to think that there's a potential possibility that they might do, some of the side characters for Mandalorian is just would be, to me, as great as an Academy Award. I got involved in this business due to the fantasy, due to the escapism, not so much for the craft itself, not so much for the ultimate political, honor of getting an Academy Award. But for me, it's just about returning to childhood and to get my own action figure and to present that to my children one day would just be absolutely amazing. So fingers crossed here for the next year.
That's what I was just thinking about when you were saying, some people related to the prequel trilogy, some of the sequels, some of the original. You might be somebody's Luke Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi, because they might watch this. You might not have as much screen time, but they might watch this and say, "This guy is amazing. I want to be like Gekko. I want to be a bounty hunter when I grow up." I mean,
I
that's
was going
just
to say that you bring up a really good point just in regards to children and in regards to touching other people's lives. I plan to hopefully do a little bit of a convention here, tour here as just a side character, with some of the conventions. But one of the most important things I want to get involved in is the 501st with the Mandalorian Mercs in regards to making a difference and a positive effect on children's lives and people's lives all over the world. I've been so gracious. I mean, people again, in America, the American mentality, I'm, Italian American, grew up in New York, is just always to push, push, push and keep being more and more successful. But for me, just this alone, this little gift for, a kid from Ossining, New York, Westchester County, to have this little gift and to be able to hopefully pay that forward to me, to make an impact in people's lives in a positive way through Star Wars now means more to me than booking another television role. I will tell you that. Absolutely. I wish you the best of luck with everything. Again, it's persistence and hard work. And like I said, just taking a lot of pride in the little victories. That's what's kept me going for 25 years. And I wish you all the best and all your listeners with their endeavors as well.
What kind of time frame you looking on? Do you need to cut out of here shortly?
Well, no, I just, forgive me. We had a little bit of a mishap here. My son was supposed to have baseball practice. They have a blackout at the game. I have more than enough time, but do you mind if I drive? Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. Go ahead, please shoot me the questions and forgive me here. I just, my son, unfortunately, the practice got canceled. I'm doing double duty as a dad, so I just it was a little bit of unexpected turbulence here. But please go fire ahead. I got all the time in the world.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. It's like you were saying that I feel honored that you're taking the time out of your day to talk to me because I'm this guy that talks to a couple people. Where everybody, people that have their YouTube channel or their podcast, they usually have a set thing and they talk and they do whatever. And with the live chat, they answer a couple questions or do as much as they can. For me, mine's more like I don't write anything down, nothing's scripted. So when I come on and people come on and we start talking, I have things I want to talk about. It took me 3 weeks to talk. It took me 3 weeks to talk about a comic I want to talk about because I kept forgetting because other people started talking. We talked about what they want to. It's more like if you're, I'm meeting my friends at the bar right now and we're having some beers and talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, that's my cup of tea right there.
That's what this is.
Yeah, Michael,
we're pretty.
You bring up a really good point, but I got to tell you, I can't tell you how appreciative I am of the podcasters, everybody else. This is a featured side character, and without the podcaster, I can't, I have everything public on my Facebook page. You've got to see the illustrations, the support from the fan base. This character will literally be nothing without the podcasters and the fans. So I am so grateful to each and every one of you. And again, being a fan myself, I've been in chat rooms and I've been on the comment section of a lot of the Star Wars groups and such. So anything that I can do in order to add for a positive experience, not to mention, you guys are helping me out in terms of promoting the character. I'm here for you. And like I said, I can't tell you how appreciative I am.
Well, that's where I am too, where I'm so appreciative, because it's funny, these people, these people, the majority of the people have listened to podcasters or listen to podcasts, and they're lucky if they become friends with some of them, or get to hit the hangouts or whatever. I never did any of the social media aspect of anything until it'll be 2 years in January. And I was just bored. I was just coming off a disability. I was trying to find a job, so I had a bunch of time to kill. And I said, I want to meet some Star Wars friends. So the one day I started up a Twitter, a YouTube, Facebook, like you name it, anything I could figure out how to do, instantly I did, and made 1 or 2 videos. Had a couple friends on Twitter, and somebody sent me a message and said, "Hey, we're getting together. We're a bunch of podcasters. We're getting together. You want to come meet with us? We saw your video. We liked it." And I went and met with them, and now I've become friends with them. Then I go to Comic-Con with them. Then I go to Star Wars Celebration with them, and there's we have houses and everything. I'm going with them to Anaheim for Celebration. So it's like I went from I want to make some friends to hitting the mother load. I think I said when I was telling the story to everybody that was my chat the one day, the only way that it would be better is if I became friends with like Dave Filoni and George Lucas. Other than that, it's like I wanted to make a few Star Wars friends, and I have podcasters and YouTubers, and it's just like completely out of this world. So it's like I feel honored like that, and that's why I'm completely open to anybody and talking with people and anybody. And you want to come on and talk, that's fine. As Anthony says, it's not about me, it's about we. It's the community, and like you said, it's the community that made this character something. You're talking to me today. You talked to Blue Mantha Milk, who I'm friends with recently. Tomorrow you're going on the Sith list, and I'm friends with them. So it's like everybody's friends with each other. That you're going to see, and there's no animosity of you're talking to him, well, I talk to him. It's like great, good thing you're talking to him. Oh, we just talked to him. Oh, well, this is great. And everyone's happy for each other. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's a positive, fun community. For the most
is, and it's so
for the most part.
There's a lot of negativity right now in society, whether it's political or social. So, I know, you're mentioning it in terms of Mom's Basement, and we're talking about, kind of nerdy and such, but I'll tell you, I can't get over the amount of enthusiasm and joy with this group of people, the 501st and the Mercs and the cosplayers, in terms of genuinely enjoying something in life. I think it's the most beautiful thing. I'd rather be hanging out and having a beer with you than a lot of the people who have a chip on their shoulder, or everything is just negative, or they're just viewing everything in a skewed negative manner through life or through politics or through social issues. It's been so refreshing to kind of all come together with this beautiful series that George Lucas has created and now has been taken on by Kennedy and Filoni and Favreau, to be able to share just the joy of life. This is what entertainment is about. It's about escapism. So it's just such a pleasure. It's such an honor to not only, like I said, be a small sliver of this, but also to just kind of be a part of all these fun podcasters and all these fans who just genuinely just love, this fantasy world. There's nothing wrong with it at all. If anything, like I said, it's just such a joy to be around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I don't know how up to date you are on some of the things that the negativity in the fandom, but I don't really want to deal with that. But at Celebration there was talks of people disrupting and doing things, and I'd say out of the 50,000 people, or it holds, I don't know how many people were actually there. It holds 50,000 people a day or 60,000 people a day. There was a couple people a day that no one started anything. Some people had t-shirts on that Luke lives or Luke deserves better, or things like that. That's fine. You can think whatever you want, wear whatever you want. I have nothing against that. It's when your beliefs interfere with my beliefs, because you can't just let me want what I want and be happy for me.
Exactly. I think the good news is, I think hopefully we're at a point where everybody's going to kind of let that go. And again, Favreau and Filoni, I think, are doing, they're going to do such an amazing job with this, where I think in many ways they'll bring everybody together. It's unfortunate, obviously. There was obviously a lot of criticism with Solo and 8, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, again, if we go back to the joy of George Lucas and the joy of this galaxy, on the whole, as a whole, no matter who you are, you have to admit, and even I would say some of these people who are negative for whatever reason, it's like a sports team to where they're being passionate and because they care about something. Unfortunately, they're expressing it in the wrong way, and there's no room for anything in terms of that's racist or sexist or even in general the negativity. But I would say if there's any good silver lining to it, it's that people are passionate about Star Wars because they care about it, because they love it. But by no means should it ever ruin your experience and ruin the experience of many like you and I, to where we just want to enjoy this amazing piece of work that Disney has been putting together and will continue to for many, many years. Fan is just going to be absolutely amazing. We got The Mandalorian coming out. Disney made an amazing investment on this. And also at the same time, J.J. Abrams has episode 9. So all good things to come. And, like I said, let bygones be bygones. It is what it is,
So now you said before, $100 million for The Mandalorian.
Yeah, 8 episodes. My God. I mean, this is going to be some visual eye candy, I can imagine, huh?
Yeah, and I got to figure that, you're going to have a couple ups and a couple downs. So one of them might have only been 8 million and the other one's 20 million. There's probably some disparity in there with, I'm just guessing. I'm basing something like off of Game of Thrones, where, you have 10,000 extras, that you have and the dragons coming in, things like that. And then, another episode, it's a little bit off. So, I'm just imagining that some of the episodes, even though they're still going to be visually stunning, you have other ones that are just going to be jaw dropping.
Yeah, I think they've got their finger on some new technology. I can't go into detail with it, but again, you got the best in the business, and plus you got Disney behind them. So this is just going to be a special gift for everyone, and no matter what walk of life you're coming from, I think this is going to be really amazing. Also, I was talking with my wife just recently. I mean, what a great deal it sounds like for most of the package deals. If you have young kids at home, not only with The Mandalorian, but also all the other Disney movies, this is going to be really just a no-brainer. I remember, I was thinking, I was like, well, God, I have Amazon, I've got Netflix, but my wife is just like, hey, this is too good to be true, and especially for those with young kids, before we used to have to buy all the DVDs and Blu-rays, this is going to be absolutely amazing for most families there.
I mean, I was raised on Disney, and I remember every Sunday at 7:00 on ABC, the Disney movie came on, and we were all in our in our PJs with our sleeping bag, our blanket and pillow, and we'd watch the movie until we fell asleep, and mom or dad would carry us up to bed then.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, the whole, and it's so cheap that
Escape from Witch Mountain, and what they have, the Shaggy Dog, and was it Herbie too? I think was Disney as well.
Herbie,
right?
Dobie McGillis or Dobie, and they're all ones. If you ask me to name them, I could probably name a few. But if you put them on a list, I'd be like, yep, saw every single one of them.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know where you got your hat.
Oh God, I think if you do Amazon and just go Mandalorian, that was it. So nothing too special. This was not a production crew hat, but yeah, it was. If you start googling or searching Amazon Mandalorian, or if you Google Mandalorian, gear apparel, some good things will come up. But I've had some fun things that I've purchased over the last few months just to kind of get festive. It's again, this is kind of like there's Christmas and there's the Star Wars holiday season, and so I've been doing a little bit of shopping of my own, just kind of building up a little bit of a swag for the conventions there.
Yeah, there's another company, Heroes and Villains. They haven't been around very long. They have the Disney license and they make a little bit of everything. Their first big thing was that Comic-Con that I spoke about earlier, and I got my jacket that I wear from there, my backpack that I got. The clasp broke on it, and they replaced it, no questions asked. So great company. I highly endorse them. They just came out with a Mandalorian line. So that's Heroes and Villains. Not my sponsor yet, but maybe they will be.
Yeah, I just bought one. There was another one called From Her Universe. That was the name of the company, and they got this really cool Mandalorian vest that has the Mandalorian symbol, and then also it says on the back, he's no good to me dead. So I thought that was pretty badass. So I picked that up actually last week, which was pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, her universe. Somebody in this chat should probably be able to tell me. I think that's one of the like a Star Wars person. I don't know if it's like an actual Star Wars person like Ashley Eckstein who has a company, but a well-known podcaster, someone in the Star Wars community. I think that might be someone like that. One of their.
You know, it might be Eckstein's because I saw her as a model, so that
Okay.
might actually connect.
If some of my friends were in here listening to me, I know they'd be able to answer. I'm not going to name any other names, though. I'll just text them afterwards and be like, I had a Star Wars question. Only you could answer. Where were you? And I'd be like, what was it? And, you know, it was about girls' clothes. Yeah, I have a lot of questions. That's the hard part, you know. I have a lot of questions I want to ask you, but I know you can't answer them. And I know even asking you, you know, that it's not, and not trying to give you gotcha questions, just wanting to know, you know, how many episodes, can you tell us how many episodes you're in?
Oh man, I kind of can't.
Okay. All right.
Let's just say, I'll be holding my breath longer than tomorrow. But again, but again, I mean, we can talk about just the excitement again. I mean, I've been a lifelong fan, and again, starting tomorrow, and then we could talk more extensively. But let's just say after November, late November, then we could talk about the whole kid caboodle there, and just I just want to make that's all.
Yeah, trust me. Listen, I don't want to give you any grief, or I want you to be able to come back and talk to me. If season 2 is a possibility, if you're in season 2, come back and talk to me about season 2. Or if something happens to your character, so you're not going to be in season 2, maybe you're a different character in season 2 or season 3. You're wearing makeup, no one's going to see you. It's not like they're going to be like, hey, we know that guy from something else. You know, you got a bunch of guys right now. That's how they made their living, is just being in movie after movie.
Without question. Absolutely. Whether that happens or not, I just can't tell you how grateful I am to Filoni and also just to Disney for this even small opportunity. People ask me, if I want to, continue on. I've, received a phone call, and actually Brian reached out to me a few weeks ago in regards to a potential other character. But at the same time, for me, if they can bless another Star Wars fan with maybe their own one-of-a-kind character, to me that would make me just as happy. It's weird. I have a heart to where, for me, it's not worth anything of value unless I can share it. So I just, for what I have, I'm just grateful. It's like winning the lottery and then saying, oh God, I hope I get another lottery ticket. This to me, again, has just been priceless in and of itself. So wherever it leads, I mean, it leads. But again, just to hit this and to touch the top of the mountain even once within our Star Wars fantasy world is just beyond words.
Friendship.
I sent you a little gift package there, so feel free to give out to your listeners. I signed a few photos there for you, but it's always nice to get cool stuff, and of course, win a contest there.
I saw that picture that you're sending me, I believe. I think it's in the video of you of you signing. If it's the same one, I'm getting that framed. I'm going to put that up, and then I have another one or two to figure out someone to do it with, or do a little giveaway or contest.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it. Definitely reward your listeners there, and thank you so much. Again, next year it's all about celebrating with the fans. So if I can have little giveaways myself, that would be absolutely priceless.
If you could own a droid, any droid, which droid would you choose?
Well, in terms of figures, I had this question asked before. There was something really cool I used to love about that 2-1B. I think it was the Empire Strikes Back. It was like the medical droid. I always thought that was kind of a cool little droid. Of course, was it KTSO from Rogue One? That was pretty awesome to actually have the droid that was kind of like your bodyguard there, and plus, not to mention such a great personality, sense of humor he brought to the movie. So K2SO and also 2-1B are two of my favorites. 3PO, I mean, it's a little, how do you not love 3PO? But at the same time, I mean, even like Han Solo's character, it gets a little annoying after a while as far as just never shutting up, Just in the coolness, I used to love, there was something about 2-1B I thought was pretty awesome.
That's what I'm actually named after. That's where TooMedToo comes from. Like you were saying, you had your figures that you liked. I was going back into school for nursing. That was one of the characters that really stands out from my childhood of me having, besides the cloud car being one of my first memories of figures were 2-1B, Gamorrean Guard, and the AT-AT driver.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're all so unique, and it really is uniqueness that I can only imagine what we're going to see starting tomorrow and also in episode 9. They do just always such an amazing job in terms of all the uniqueness and creativity of the creatures and the characters, and not only that, the blasters, the lightsabers, all that kind of stuff is what makes Star Wars so special.
Yeah, and this is I got with the camera.
Oh, very cool. They got a Funko Pop. Very awesome.
Yeah, they have pretty much a Funko Pop for everything. I went a little crazy Force Friday, and I ordered every single one of the Funkos coming out for Force Friday.
I had an ambitious friend of mine who created a Funko Pop for me, and God willing, again, they'll make Black Series and a figure. You just never know how they're going to do the side character figures or if they'll create them. But obviously, it would be a dream come true to have my own Funko Pop Black Series and 3.7 figure. But you never know. Like I said, either way, I'm grateful for the opportunity. If anything else comes about, it is what it is. But ultimately, just very grateful.
You and I talked about it briefly before, but besides the Mandalorian coming out tomorrow, you have coming out today another show.
Playing in the Midwest on the West Coast at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, guest starring opposite Ronda Rousey, and just an amazing, talented cast from Fox and 911. And then also be guest starring on a new show called Deputy, starring Stephen Dorff, January 30th on Fox. That's going to be a new show. They've got some of the new trailers out. And then I just had a film. I'm starring in a film called Anonymous Killers, an amazing sociological thriller that just screened and premiered at the American Film Market the last couple of about 2 days ago there. And that was something that took about 5 years to produce and create. And it's out. It's just going to be an amazing one of those discussion pieces. And yeah, a lot of good stuff. Psychosis opposite Tyler Mane. Tyler Mane was in X-Men and Halloween. He starred in Halloween. I have a film called Psychosis with him. I'll be Billy Bob's driver. I have a little featured bit as Billy Bob Driver in a bestseller movie called A Million Little Pieces with Scout Taylor Johnson as well. And there's another really, which is supposed to be real. It's kind of like a social media thriller that takes place in Russia, and I play one of the henchmen in that. So a lot of stuff going on, but right now, of course, it's all about Star Wars, and just really excited again. I mean, this is just something again for the past year. I've just been kind of in a daze of just the fact that this is real. It's really too good to be true.
My highlight is being able to talk to you and some of the other authors I've lined up to speak with. Yeah, you broke up a little bit while you were talking. He is guest featuring. I don't know.
911 on Fox.
Yeah.
Deputy on Fox January 30th, and then I'm starring in the feature film Anonymous Killers.
And then Anonymous Killers, which I wasn't able to find any trailers or footage, but I was able to read. I mean, very minor about it. It looks interesting, and you have really a starring role. You have a starring role in that.
That is correct. It deals with a lot of society now in terms of, and it's subjective, but basically the subject is that those who come from privilege and those who don't. Sometimes when you come from the inner city or you come from circumstances that aren't obviously in your favor growing up as a kid, you have to do what you have to do in order to survive. And sometimes that might be leading a life of crime. What it poses is just the fact that the 1%, or the top elite don't really care whether you struggle or not, don't really care whether you have to work 10 times harder in order to get somewhere. You still have to pay the price if you commit a crime or not. But what it does is just kind of opens up people's minds as far as sympathizing with those who don't come from the best circumstances, and perhaps understanding that, people have to do what they have to do in order to survive. But it's definitely going to be, the director said he wants to make something remarkable. And what he meant by that was that he wants people to remark on the film afterwards, and you certainly will. It will stick with you for quite some time. But yeah, look for it in the early half of next year. You're probably most likely on Netflix or Amazon there. It's really quite something.
Prior to your Star Wars adventures and escapades, do you want to talk about any highlights you have? Megalodon?
Not at all. I mean, ultimately, look, I mean, I started studying in 1993. I got my first guest star 10 years later, 2003, in NYPD Blue. And that to me was a really monumental moment to be able to make the big leagues, and something that I dreamt of for quite some time. Since then, again, I've had almost over 100 appearances, and namely NCIS, Navy NCIS, The District. You've got Desperate Housewives. You've got Cold Case, Young and the Restless, Days of Our Lives. I mean, I've just been working very consistently. Megalodon was a low budget film. We all know about Asylum Films. They're trying to shove in $100 million within a $50,000 budget. You have to do, normally you would have to do on a major league film, maybe 7 to 8 pages at the most. We were packing in 14 to 15 pages. So a lot of times you don't necessarily have that much time to have a second take. So, I'm proud of everything that I've done. A lot of times things are going to be low budget or they might be high budget. But either way, my persistence and consistency throughout my career, I'm very proud of. And again, just to have this little tiny gift as a Star Wars fan really kind of puts the icing on the cake and reminds us why I've been persistent for so long. Absolutely. There's no shame at all in doing any type of blue collar job. There's no shame at all in getting a guest star and then not knowing where the next job is, but taking any work that you can. I've just kind of been a gamer that way. And I've been a journeyman for the last 25 years out here in Hollywood. And again, like I said, but at the same time, you just appreciate every opportunity you have. You always just kind of keep yourself grounded and just you're appreciative of any opportunity. So I have a lot to be grateful for and very thankful. Bottom line, that's an opportunity. And you just do, again, whatever you have to do in order to support your family and also at the same time chase your dream. And there should be no shame in that whatsoever. Well, listen, like I said, I'm really appreciative to be on. I do have to run. My kids got to get a little bit of dinner. But absolutely so grateful to you and everybody, all the listeners for supporting this little side character. And again, for those of you like myself and like you who sit there and they're persistent, they work hard and they follow their dreams, a lot of good things come out of it there. So I wish you and everybody all the best there.
I really appreciate you being on here. This is like an honor to me to have, you on there. You're the closest I am to Star Wars now. You're a Star Wars and we're working on that acquaintance thing. You're going to be in New York City, hopefully soon enough. We'll go have a couple of beers and celebration, next year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I look forward to it, Michael. Whether it's in New York or at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim next year, it will be a pleasure to meet you there. Absolutely. Absolutely. Without question. Thank you so much. Wishing everybody a great evening. And thank you all for subscribing to Disney Plus. And I appreciate everyone's support of this little featured side character. Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
All right. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Okay. Have a great night.
You too.